and see if we can make it fit in at a classic car show. But before we do that, let's just remind ourselves of how bad this Range Rover was when it arrived a few weeks ago. Having bought this from an unscrupulous trader, this car was in less than perfect condition and certainly not as described. We've washed, decontaminated and done everything to get this car ready for a wet sand and a paint correction to try to fix the aesthetics on this car and take it to a car show. But with less than 24 hours until the start of the show, would we run out of time? We've got some defects that we've created with the rotary, which we're going to polish out with some different pads and different polishing compounds to make sure that this has got that kind of really shiny gloss that's going to make this really pop in the sun. And we've still got a few little areas that we might have to go back and look at again, but we're going to take it a little bit at a time. I'm not going to waste any more time because this has got to get done. So come with me, let's crack on. Hopefully you can now see these scratches more clearly and the quality of the paint, which is really not very reflective, very orange peely again. And yes, there are lots of scratches absolutely everywhere. This is a mess. Look at this. Even with a little 1-inch polisher, I'm going to prime the pad with a little bit of compound, and obviously I'm trying to get into that little recess on the door, because if not, the sun is going to hit that and it's going to catch your eye when you see all of those defects in there. Detailing is about paying attention to the details. These little 1-inch polishers that got the switchable back plate to the 2-inch are absolutely fantastic for this sort of thing. Well, I've gone and got the 3-inch DA out now with a microfiber on, because there's still some sanding marks that I've not got out and I can't quite get in with the bigger DA. And by trying to do it a little bit quicker than I would normally do, I've probably created myself a little bit of extra work, and there's no time saved. It's going to be the same amount of time spent now doing it this way as it would have been if I'd have done it the other way, or the right way maybe. Microfiber pads really correct quite quickly, but they're thin and not very flexible. So on these curves, they can be a little bit hard to get in. And again, that 1-inch polisher is an absolute godsend here. And with a 1-inch cutting pad on, you will still get out those sanding defects and marks and hazing that you may have put in with your other earlier stages. If you don't have a 1-inch polisher, you can still put a 3-inch backing plate onto your larger machine and use a softer, less aggressive cutting pad to adapt to the curve. And on the big flat panel areas, you can then go back to your full-size backing plate and just carry on cutting away. Nicola's taking the grill off because we're going to give this a lick of paint actually, just to get it looking a little bit cleaner. Although this grill is crap, we probably will replace it with another one at some stage if we can find a decent one. And we'll probably use some C4 down on these to get these nice and black as well. Nick got stuck into the screwing, and there's a lesson there in sticking to your strengths. Oh, those doors are looking much shinier, but there's still a bit of work to do, I think. In the meantime, Nick carried on polishing the exterior glass with the microfiber and the 3-inch polisher, and I got ready to set about doing the tailgate. Now, we all know that this tailgate is a mess and ultimately at some stage would need paint. There's lack of fail, there's defects, there's scratches, there's dents, there's all sorts. However, I'm going to try and make this look as pretty as we can for now. Almost as pretty as me. Yeah. Believe it or not, I do actually have a plan with this. I've sanded this all now with 2000 grit, and we're going to take a look at how even this is. It's not going to be perfect. Despite the fact that I've masked off the badges and also taken off the number plate, it's still actually really difficult to get into some of these tighter areas. So I've had to do some by hand, some by machine. We now need to use a 3000 grit and try and take some of those 2000 grit marks out before we even think about compounding. So let's carry on with that, and we're probably going to take a look at these rear lights while we're here and just give these a little bit of a freshen up as well. So you will see we've got a very dull finish, which is the sanding marks that are on the back of this car. There's no real shine there, or not much, and now it's time to try and revive some of that. So let's get on with it. So I'm still working away on this tailgate, and I've gone full very much sexy chocolate, because look at this. I've now got the extension on this, and I've changed the backing plate for a 2-inch backing plate, and that's just to give me the clearance to get into some of these places a little bit better. This is proving a real problem because I managed to get the sandpaper in with a block and also hand sanding it, and I can't get the DA in, so I've changed this to a rotary. So we've taken the counterweight off. We're now in full rotary mode, and hopefully we can cut some of this with the power of Menzura 400. Sun's out, guns out. Let's do this. This lacquer line that we had, I can't rectify that with the sanding, I don't believe. I can't take it out. The lacquer's just not great, and that's why we've got burn through in parts, and that's why we've got lacquer failing. Because it's really been painted by someone like, yeah, it's been painted by Stevie Wonder. It's that bad in places. It's a really shocking bit of paint. So if you are the man watching who did this, you really should be ashamed of yourself. And I would suggest that you leave the profession of painting and maybe take up something a little bit easier, like golf. That's not easier. Croquet. Take up croquet, because you'll be a far better croquet player than you are an automotive painter. I really have to be fair to croquet players. I've never played croquet, so it could be really difficult. I have played golf and I'm terrible. But golfing aside, I'm better at paint correction than golf sometimes. So I was carrying on with the rest of this car, and again, turned the car around to give me a bit more access. I think anybody who stands here and talks to a camera when there's nobody else around at 6:30 on an evening is probably a little bit crazy. But we are making progress. I have now wet sanded the side of this car, this side, with the 3000 grit, and I have this bonnet left to do. This project has been in 2 episodes so far because I wanted to give you an indication as to how big a job this is. There's quite a lot of work goes into wet sanding a car, and the P38 is still quite a big car. I flipped the car around, I've got this bonnet to do, and then obviously I'm going to have to refine that back. I'm going to have to turn the car around again because I'm going to have to wipe it down, clean all of this sanding dust away, and then I can start to do a little bit more work restoring the remaining trims on the car to make those look as good as possible. Look how small this bottle is, and that's 20 odd pounds worth. £22, £22.95, something like that. You do not get a lot. That's 15 millilitres. If you don't know what C4 is, it's this. Trim restorer and trim protectant. And this stuff, honestly, I swear by this, certainly for a lot of exterior trims. And it just gets it looking black, and it protects it, and it lasts for ages. This is a G-Technique product. It's not sponsored by G-Technique, despite the fact that I'm enthusiastic about this product, but it is fantastic, and I'm gonna get some on this. Now, you should use gloves, and I'm not gonna use gloves, but that's because I've got no gloves. But just be careful, try not to get it on your fingers. Here are your applicator pads. So you're gonna apply it with this. Make sure you've got all of the trim clean, and we've used the IPA to do just that. It's really, really faded and discoloured. I don't know how much you can see of that. As much as I am in love with G-Technique C4, I also want to reference another product that you can use for this, which is called Solution Finish. Now that product is dye based, and in certain circumstances will do a better job than C4 of dyeing plastics back to an OEM finish. I don't feel as though it gives as much protection as C4, but if trying to get that deep black back from something which is ultra faded is the goal, then that's when you can use it. It is messy, much messier than C4, so use it with gloves, but it's another one to consider. There's definitely a massive improvement. If you have a look at this now, okay, this you can't do anything about. This is where it's really just destroyed. There's nothing there to restore, to be honest, but across this is much blacker than it was, and that's just one coat. And if I come over to the next one, which is how the other one was before, so you can see what it was to how it is, that's huge. With the trims blacked out, it looks so much better against the shiny side of the car. I could have wrapped the trims, but I'm terrible at wrapping, and door handles would have been a nightmare for me. Look how white that door handle is. That is crazily bad. That might have to be Solution Finish. I went through a full 15ml bottle on the trims on this car because there are so much plastic trim on the outside, and I still wasn't happy in parts, so I decided to test the solution finish on the lower trim on the front bumper and also on the grille. And as you can see, with just one coat, this is a kind of difference that it can make. I actually ended up going back over this with a second coat to get a darker, more protected finish. That's another day over and done with, and we've made quite a bit of progress on the P38, and I am now ready for a bath and I'm ready for some food, so I am officially out of here. See you in the next couple of seconds. I've polished these headlights, which now look a lot better, and I've done this bumper. Even though this bumper is cracked at the front, I still decided to make this look as good as I can. I've got this little strip in here which I'm going to use mighty little mini 1-inch polisher to get right into there. So let's get that one done now.
I can't believe my eyes when I get close to you, close to you, close to you. You said hello.
The trims under the headlights are not as bad, so I'm using the C4 again, and I can also do the headlight wiper with these as well, and you'll see this go black pretty much straight away. Now, not only is that darker, it's also now fully protected. So where am I now? Well, I've got a number plate for the rear of the car, but I've got to get the adhesive off. I've not done that before, simply because I didn't have a heat gun or a hairdryer here to be able to do it with, but I've got a hairdryer. You might ask, why have I got a hairdryer? Good question, but I do have one. I picked one up from home. Before I put some glaze on the car, I've gone over this side again with Menzena 3500 and a white Hexlogic polishing pad to get a bit more clarity. You can apply a glaze by hand, but a machine is a little bit quicker and for me just gives a better finish. Now, it's one thing looking full Essex boys on the motorway, but would this old beast be good enough to get us into a classic car show? With the likes of classics like this 2002, plus works of art like the E-Type, I may have bitten off more than I could chew. And I think she looks amazing compared to where she started less than a week ago. She just seems to fit in so well, and just look at the reflection of the M3 in the side. I think, guys, we did really well. Thanks for watching, and if you've not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon, and don't forget to come back for next episode when I show you everything else that's wrong with this P38 Range Rover. See you in the next one.